One thing you can be certain of when you own an RV is that you're gonna have to perform maintenance, and whether it be on your freshwater system, whether it be flushing tanks, wheel maintenance, interior items on the interior, there's going to be maintenance involved. And most of these maintenance items, I promise you, are easier when you do it versus paying someone else to do it, because they can be costly and they are really simple. Back in July, we put the RV in for service, and they did a few maintenance items for us. And one of the things that they did not do is sanitize the fresh water tank. But a couple of weeks ago, I did that. RV parks are not known for good, clean water. They're not known for consistent water pressure. They're not known for consistency with water, and it's not their fault. It is what it is. The city water. It could be on well, it could be on city. But to combat that, periodically, you have to sanitize your fresh water tank, and that's what I'm going to do today. But there are a couple of things that you have to do to prepare for the freshwater tank sanitization. You have to drain all of the water from the RV, from using the sinks inside, using everything. Got to drain all the water. Inside of the wet bay here, I have my low point drain valves, and that's these two valves here: hot water drain, cold water drain. When this is the position they're in when they're holding back the water. You open them up here, and it drains the water underneath. There are two hoses underneath where the water will drain from. The other thing you need to do inside of the wet bay here is drain the shower, the outside shower. Do that just by hooking up the hose and just giving it a squeeze. Now, I've already drained water, so nothing's going to come out, but it is done. Turn off your ice maker. Inside, you open up all of the faucets to make sure that's all going, and then you turn on the water pump. And you hear that? Water pump's pushing the water out. It's pushing the water out in the low point drain valve, and it's pushing the water out of the on the inside. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the water filter from the RV. And that's with this wrench. And then carefully take this out. You got a ton of water in there. Well, not a ton, but it's full. And it's used. It's not time for me to change this yet, so I'm not going to change it. That is a 1 micron solid block, carbon solid block filter. Good filter. All right. I like to keep the inside of my wet bay clean. I know, it's called the wet bay. Kind of an oxymoron, but I like to keep it dry. My next task is to get this water and bleach solution from this 5-gallon bucket into the fresh water tank. Now the solution, as I said, is 1/4 cup of bleach for every 15 gallons of water in the freshwater tank. So that means I needed to make 5.4 gallons of solution to put in the tank. Now, I'm going to put it into the tank and add water. I made 5 gallons. I didn't do the 0.4. I made 5 gallons. I'm going to put it in the tank. I'm going to add water. All right. So I'm going to do that. And the way to do that is first close your fresh water valve, which is back here. Freshwater tank has a gate valve handle, pretty much like these here. It's a white handle. It's on the bottom of the RV, right behind the tires. So you got to close that so it's all closed off. And then I'm going to have to remove my hose, my freshwater hose. Excuse my back to the camera. Freshwater hose removed. And then connect my siphon hose. Now this is a freshwater hose. All right. See, it's white inside there. It's white inside, so there are no chemicals or rubber or anything in there that's going to come off, and it's just white plastic in there. But this was my newbie hose until I graduated to my 0G hose. All right, so I have a quick connect on here. Let me just take that off. I bought these brass quick connects that they're great. They work good until calcium builds up inside on the bearings and inside of the thing. Then you got to soak them in CLR for a long time. So I'm going to end up getting rid of the brass, and I'm not going to throw them away until I see how plastic quick connects work as opposed to brass quick connects. So I'm going to connect my hose here. And this end goes into the bucket, and it floats away, so you gotta hold it. Now you want to set the Nautilus P1 system up for sanitization, and it tells you on the labels here what it does. So when I set it up for sanitization, then it siphons to the tank via the water pump. So it'll use the water pump to siphon into the tank. To set it up, the white one has to go to the right, the green one has to go to the left, the red one is up, and the blue one goes down. It's a slow process, but you can test it and make sure it's going. Here, kick in. While the water is siphoning into the tank, then I'm going to go ahead and go in, and I'm going to close the faucets inside of the RV. And I already put the cover back on the water filter housing. I put that housing back on. There's no filter in there. The filter is trashed. But it's time for it to change anyway. It's not really time yet. I still have like a couple of weeks on it, but I'm not going to wait for that. I'm going to go ahead and do it while I'm here. All right, so while this is doing this thing, I'm going to go in and turn off the water. once you've done all your siphoning, you can take and put that hose away. I'll hang it where it belongs afterwards. Hook up your water, your fresh water, back to your, hook up your hose, hook up the hose back to the fresh water. Then, after you've rehooked up, then you want to set your system to power fill. With power fill, all you're going to do is fill the freshwater tank. And to do that, you have the white lever going down. Here's the diagram for power fill. You have the white lever going down, the green lever going to the left, up, down, red up, blue down. And at this point, I'm just going to go over to the faucet and turn the water back on, and I'm going to let the freshwater fill up, freshwater tank fill up. And I'll just keep an eye on it at the monitor. Once I've done that, then I'm going to run all of the faucets inside and let the solution go through all of the faucets as well. And after I've gotten the solution through all of the faucets, then at that point I'm going to let it sit for 3 hours. Let it sit for 3 hours. I'll drain it, I'll fill it, I'll drain it, I'll fill it, I'll drain it 3 times. And then I make a solution of white distilled vinegar and water, and I'll put that into the tank, and then I'll let that sit there probably until Sunday when we leave. Today is Friday. I'll let it sit there until Sunday morning until we leave, and let it wash around while the RV is moving. And when I get to the dump station, then I'll open the freshwater tank and let all of that. Sorry guys, the battery on the mic died, but all I was saying here is that you repeat the same process with vinegar and water that you did with the Clorox and water. That eliminates the taste and the smell of chlorine in your water. What they did do is sanitize the water heater tank. And when you are a full-timer, you should change the anode rod in your water heater every 3 months. I don't know if that's true or not, because I've also heard it said that you should change it yearly. Like I said, I did sanitize the freshwater tank. I did not sanitize the water heater because when I put it in for service, La Mesa did it for me. However, it has been more than 3 months, and when I sanitized the freshwater system, I should have checked the anode rod, but I didn't. So what I'm going to do today is change the anode rod. When you're doing this job, there are certain things that you're going to need. The first thing you're going to need, without a doubt, unequivocally, is a RV water heater. It's a must. Second thing you're going to need is a 1 1/16 inch socket to go on the anode rod. You're going to need an extension. You're going to need a ratchet handle or breaker bar. The other thing you're going to need is a wand to go. Once you remove the anode rod, you go inside and you rinse all of the deposits out of the tube for the water heater, for the anode rod. And third, what you're going to need is an anode rod. Okay, I bought a 3-pack because, like I said, if I need it, I'm gonna get multiple. have them on hand. But you need the anode rod here, and you also will need some plumber's tape to go on the threads, okay? But what do we want to do first? The first thing that you want to do is turn off your water heater. You have a switch down here, on and off. Select it to off. The second thing you want to do is turn off your water. Then, with your water turned off, you might as well go ahead and hook up your wand to the water hose that you're going to be using, and that's what's going to happen when you use your wand. Alright, there's that. Then, you also want to turn off your propane and turn off your electrical inside of the RV, and I'm going to turn off the breaker to the water heater. So one of the other things I forgot to mention is you want to relieve all of the water pressure in all of the lines. So while I was inside turning off the electric and turning off the breaker, I also opened up the faucets to make sure no pressure is in the lines. What I'm also going to do here is open up my low point valves. You hear that water coming out? And open up my low point valve. Drain as much water out of the system as possible. Okay. And I'm also gonna hook up the outside shower and give that a squeeze, just to make sure no water comes out of there. Then, with all of the pressure gone out of the lines, then I want to slowly open up that pressure relief valve. Now once all the water has stopped draining, has stopped running out, then I'm going to go ahead and close these low point valves. Okay, and open the valve here slowly. Relieve pressure. It's a pressure relief valve. Relieve pressure on that. And then what I want to do here next, I'm going to carefully remove. Next, I'm going to carefully remove the anode rod. Okay, and I have this bucket so I can try to capture some of the corrosion, some of the deposits that are in the water heater from the anode rod. And just carefully loosen the anode rod, and it shouldn't be in there tight at all. Now, again, remember, it's hot water, so you want to be careful when pulling this out, that you don't get it all over yourself. Now you have 12 gallons of water. You got 12 gallons of water here, and obviously this is not going to hold all 12 gallons. But like I said, the purpose of it is to try and capture some of the deposits that was in here. And I'll be honest with you, from the looks of this anode rod, I might not have need to change it, but I am going to change it. So here's the anode rod that was in there, and I might have to go back on my word and decide that I'm going to go ahead and not change this rod, because this thing is in really good shape. It's in really good shape, and I'd be wasting money, to be honest with you, if I changed this rod right now. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is put this rod back in. I'll rinse it off. Okay, and I'll store it in here. Yeah, this is still good. You can still see the surface. So I'll keep that. So looking at that rod, as you can see, I really didn't need to change that. Really don't need to change the anode rod, and I'm not going to. What I will change is the plumber's tape so I can put it back in there properly. But while it's off, I am going to take the wand and go in and go ahead and rinse it out since it's open. To do that, just turn on the water. Put the wand in first, otherwise you're going to have water shooting back on you. Put that in, turn it on, and then just rinse it around inside. Put it in and pull it out so you can stir up the sediments. And if there are any sediments in, by stirring it up, and you're gonna push the sediments out. And now I'm going to just let that go ahead and finish emptying out. But from the looks of things, I guess if you have the anode rod is good enough rod, then it can definitely, if it's a good enough rod, then it will definitely take you a year. Because like I said, this rod was put in roughly 4 months ago. It's 4 months ago. And you can still see the surface of the rod. You know, and let me tell you about what the anode rod does. Inside of this tank, it's a Suburban tank, and the tank is porcelain lined metal. But the water still gets to the metal. And what the anode rod does is sacrifices itself for your tank. So all of the corrosion happens on the anode rod before it starts to happen inside of the tank. And it seems like it's doing its job. I hope it's doing its job. There's corrosion, but you know, I still hope it's corroding this more than it is the tank. Okay. So now that the water has stopped, then the only thing left for me to do is put the rod back in. To do that, I'm going to put the tape on it. You don't need a lot of plumber's tape when you put it on here. And now when you thread it, it's going to thread this way, in this direction. So you want your tape to go around it in a counterclockwise motion. Okay. And you don't need very much plumber's tape, but you want enough so you can make sure that it seals properly. Okay. And you want to go counterclockwise with your plumber's tape so that when you're screwing it in, it's not going to go against the rack that you put in. So put it in carefully and make sure you're careful when you're threading the screw, when you're threading it, because the anode rod, it does have some weight on the end, and it wants to comply with gravity on the inside. So you have to make sure that is actually straight when it starts threading. No, excuse my back. Okay, got that threaded as tight as I can with my fingers to make sure. And then I will take and I will tighten it down. And remember, it does not have to be torqued down. It just has to be tightened enough to be tight. Okay. And that looks pretty good. And then once you've done all of that, then you want to connect your water back up and turn it on, and I'll show you the process and what goes on while that's happening. I have my water back on, and you can actually hear the system recharging. And it's going to take a few minutes for the, I just closed that so I can open it and let y'all hear the pressure, that pressure. Hear the pressure building up inside. See? So that means the water heater is filling up because the water is replacing the air inside of the empty heater. So keep that turned on for a few until water starts coming out. Then when water starts coming out, then I can close it. And what I'm going to be doing after this is drying everything up in here so I can make sure I don't have a leak. Good morning. No, yesterday. So yeah, and I wasn't able to. I was finishing up that video. Yeah. That's why I wasn't able to come down. Otherwise, I'd have been down there, come down there to beat the brakes off y'all.
Oh, jeez, look out! Oh, you gotta come down. You gotta come down. We like people that say. Now, how long are you here for?
We're here until the 1st
of
December. Till December 1st.
Oh, we got time to kick ass. Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, don't cheat the next time. Bring her down and you come too.
Well, you know, if I bring her, I might have to cheat. I don't know how well she did.